Oh. I've got the ancient aliens guy here going. I'm trying to grow the vril. Let's do this here. As you can see, the moon just is coming out of conjunction with the North Node in Aries right now. I'm analyzing a progression in a static by looking at it right here, right now. So statically, it's a new, or it's a balsamic phase conjunction between the North Node and the Moon. But it's also a new phase conjunction with the North Node and the Moon. I feel if you look at it with both perspectives, then you can really tell what the energy is trying to say. Consider circuit, giving and receiving in a way. Then you can look at what these three together are saying. It's healing a wounded mind, mired to these emotional loops which knotted up the passion so that the emotions could be formed through the fire of experience, basically. So that spirit is infused here right now, and it's carried in the resonance of the moon through the emotions, the starlight in the pore of Aquarius. When you are aware of your emotions, then you allow your thoughts to release. And that spirit kind of carries forward into Taurus with Jupiter, Uranus retrograde. Bringing to form all the stuff we were sowing when the nodes were in Taurus, Scorpio. So Venus was driving. Now Mars is driving. It's the value of the self in relation to the wounds of the mind and our own perception are being seen as processes for understanding ignorance and how to grow through that, how to cultivate with change, with Uranus here. Fixed energy, it's holding instruction. It's part of like process. It's in the moment. It's the foundation of what had been laid previously. Holding, restricting, but enforcing and assisting in growth. Holding the firmament from which, spring springs. So when you consider Aries, look at the Aries to Taurus connection. Then for Aries, look into Virgo here. The blind spot, the quincunx, the inconjunct, the opening. And it trines into this Taurus expression. So the way you carry your spirit forward into form impresses upon the working transformation of this spark down here. This fire, you're bringing it to Leo. You're refining it with the first trine. And then the embodiment of the evolution goes into Earth and it reaches into Virgo here. So those kind of reaches are informing, but they're also part of the dance, part of the process. Cardinal, act, embodiment, and results here with the mutability. This is where the tests are given, or the opportunity is available. So that's the spirit of change, is this fixed nature, the need to change, essentially. That's what the value brings you, is these beliefs which hold need and desire and all these other energies. That's what you learn here in these early signs of the seasons, Western tropically speaking. So the reason you just kind of go on this procession, it's a natural procession, relates to the seasons of the northern hemisphere. You might want to try flipping the chart, inverting it, so that Aries is 12th house, Pisces is first, and see how that fits if you're down below the equator. See if that works for you. For me, like for things to make sense, I have to be able to relate to the meanings. But we're always learning how to relate, and you can read the signs. Kind of part of the process, I suppose. Symbolics a process. All right, let's get a backdrop going here. All right, so this is a statue of Isis suckling Harpocrates. Harpocrates? That's a Greek name. A lot of our perception of Egypt has come through the Greek orthodoxy. What I mean by that is their perspective, the polis spirit, Hellenistic, I guess, or post. I don't know, but there's like a control mechanism activated in culture. As it settles, it starts to hold mythologize belief. To me, there's so many potentials in how people were or could have been. I just try and look at what it is and figure out what it means through my limited perception. To me, as I look at this, I see Isis as foundation to form up here. And then there's a fountain coming out of the form, feeding back into the passing ages of old foundations. Way down here is the ancestral roots where all the emotions are built up over time, flowing through us. We're handing it down in our blood, working out the tension of release. And she sits in this crescent moon shape here. The lunar imprint on society and structure and Capricorny stuff, which is what we build from here. It's all for Isis. And then new gods are born in this process. Harpocrates, I don't know. That's just what I get by looking at this. Blue jays are going nuts out there. Just as Anubis arises. Nefties? Kneeling and lamenting. Well, immediately Saturn and Venus come to mind here. Pluto is a process. The sun could represent the felt presence of experience in Martian energy. suppression and rise. It's a blue glazed composition amulet. Amuletic triad of Isis, Nephitis, and Harpocrates. Black pillar with suspension ring. I thought Harpocrates was a boy. Isn't that the one in the middle? So they're trying to like, they're jive talking us here with this description. So when I forget this crap and I just look at this. So I just see like the fingers are connected. So I see the connection with the self here, unified sides of the brain, I guess. Logical, rational, intuitive, creative. Then we step out of that subjective realm into cycle, and we see it's yin, yang, it's a three-phase circuit, so two become three. This process is handed down from the ancestors. Yang is brought to form through yin, so it's kind of phasal in between. It's like beats in a song, you know. It's the silent parts which speak. The flowers, they bloom. They're receiving the sun, the water. And then the bees come. This is the yang element of nature, and the bees come and pollinate. And they take the pollen and they harvest and they give. And so there's this sowing and harvesting, giving and taking, all that kind of stuff. This one looks about it looks like three girls, one is a hermaphrodite. They got masks on. This looks more ancient. Maybe they mean, maybe they're trying to impress that all of existence is yin, void. And in the realized moment, experience is yang. Something like that, I don't know, maybe. There's a teacher here holding this staff of the elder. There's a throne behind him. He's advising they who sit on the throne of life. The throne's empty. It's waiting for someone to reach it through the temple of themselves, hand in hand with the receptivity of life, barefoot, connected. It's an alchemical wedding here. Integrated self in relation with reality. Then there's all these gifts of the ancestors to be held. These methods, these ideas, these techniques, these teachings, these medicines. The teachings down here to create your own. It's a system. Look at all these cobras here. I don't see the... Let's count these things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 12 cobras. Zodiac, I mean, come on, people. And then we got this falcon turtle. Horos, like this dude. At the center of it all, tapping into the foundation of the fabric of creation. Hall of the Anointed, where the honored one speaks through these different forms of emotional expression here. One is to lead with wisdom, one is to lead with just, with power, perception, and the other is to lead with wrath. You have these archetypes, these different variations of masculine expression here. Sometimes that expression is given the rod, sometimes the staff, sometimes it's the emperor combination. You see the foundation, these scales here, or I don't know if that's like looks like the same thing as what's enshrouding you when you are at the center of the seasons. So you're connected to that principles when you follow your own path. I mean, you probably can do it anyway, but just depends on what you're looking for. Look at this mane. That's cool. I like this one. That's interesting. Let's see what else is going on here. Man, this kid looks like he hits the bar every Wednesday and Friday evening, noon through 12 p.m. or noon to 12, midnight, there you go. Then the forever man-child exalting the virtues of freedom from the system. And this guy's pulling you into the abyss of material form. You are desired to appear at Painter Jasper's Hall. 4th day of something. They left those parts blank so they could be dynamic with them. Interesting. So someone had to sign every single one of these things. That would have been horrible. I can't even read this. Rich Hegels was checked Bedul of the painting Saint Tubamani, 7th August 1717. 88. 876 88 22 4. Another 2 is 6 plus 6 12 3 11 13 2. This is a unification thing. It's about bringing people to form, to meet at this damn place. Give their energy away for a greater ideal. Look at this. We got this guy with the ceremonial tea, the beans, I don't know if this is the golden goose. This is kind of cool. Oh well. I was searching for Venus and found this. Pretty cool. Seems to be an astrological thing. If you look at this over here. For a geodesic global Earth conspiracy to hold us in our ignorance by giving us new potential. It's an ever-flowing stream of change. Hubris is what we fight. Amphora. Iones carrying Anchises from Troy. In the center, Iones to the right, fully armed with Boeotian shield and 2 spears, carrying Anchises on his shoulders. The latter has white hair and beard, long embroidered chiton and scepter. In front of them is Creusa, advancing to the right. And I'm not reading all this. Let's just. Okay, wow, yeah, he's carrying the guy. That's that Master Blaster thing. That's when you're in touch with your daemon. You carry the burden of potential. If you're sown into the seeds of the Father, you are trying to carry on some kind of a myth, a tradition. He's lowering his shield for the feminine. He's integrating to be realized over here. Judged in Libra. Did the shadows, the power of possession, how did it shape him? By him, I mean the use of the power of the individual. They have to lower their shield in order to allow spirit to be formed. They say Napoleon had a daemon. But it's, I feel, many different things. It's about some form of possession, but possession is belief. So it can be all these different things. For me, I can perceive this, but it's not something that I've experienced firsthand. So I see how it could be a potential way for some people. For instance, I could see how this breaks down into the chart. Let's look at the chart real quick. First thing I'm going to look to is Mars with that energy. And Saturn, it was part of a process, a cycle, a learning. Saturn's exalted here in Libra. Saturn's in this Venusian sector of Pisces. This is the working opening quincunx between the Saturn area of Libra and the Venusian area of Pisces. So it's balancing a spirit. What informs Libra? How does it... informing is a dynamic response to things, so it's a sextile energy. Because there wasn't something and now there is. It's a creative spark type of thing. So Libra feeds into Leo. Leo is a solar energy. It's fraternal. Saturn is represented with fraternal energy. So there's an influence here with Venus, Saturn, and generically speaking, the Sun, but also with an emphasis in Saturnian things here. And how I'm doing this, I'm just looking at the quincunxes, the inconjunctions. These things tell you how you can read cycles in a way, through a transformative type of foundation, so that the dynamic can be more easily understood. Just little fixed points of perspective. So Saturn's exalted here. Saturn is about the balance of reality. What do you give to get? What do you get to give? Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it isn't. A lot of what we learn is conditioning that we're working through and shaking off so we can be a more authentic expression of us. So Saturn gives us the places and the opportunities to wear them experiences that information so it can become gnosis. The balance between the family and the response, the direction. Where do we go from where we came from? How do we create through that? And where's the authentic self in that connection? So Saturn here, we're transforming this limitation of spiritual expression and it's part of the conditioning. Part of the cultivation. And the opportunity for you to bring a more authentic expression of self into balance through all these different dynamics in life, people, situations, beliefs. And that's beliefs is where we go with this Libra stuff into Sag. What has the situations taught you? When you begin to see the situations differently, then you know your beliefs are changing or they can change. And so that's where you can really feed into your creative spark here in Aries, which is the polarity to Libra here, which is Jupiterian. If you look at the opposition of the early degrees, Saturn to Jupiter working together, they're seeing what needs to break in order to expand, what needs to expand in order to break others or break other epigenetics, to break pattern cycles. It's like the push and pull of yin-yang dynamics through personal relationships and societal cycles. Now I feel when you consider dynamics like this, aspects, consider if you have planets in these areas of Leo, Libra, or Pisces. I mean, even into Aquarius a little bit here, Cancer a little bit here, and Virgo a little here. Give it a little range, use your imagination. This is just a language for you to try and make sense of some of your own little dynamics. So as the moon goes across, conjuncting, aspecting all these planets and things, it's also aspecting what I was talking about here. So it will sextile, square, trine, inconjunct, oppose, inconjunct, trine, square, sextile, septile. It will pose as the beginning and the end for processes in Leo through the relations of life, the processes in Libra here for this sector of the chart, the Saturnian energies. Look at Saturn in your chart and you can see how that might express in your connections to Saturn, what it is you do. Where is Saturn in your chart? You can also look at Mercury, because Mercury will be making a transformative quincunx with Saturn. So you might be working through some old stuff here as your Saturn or your Mercury is online in Libra. You could be processing old beliefs, entrainment, and the possession of the father or whatever impressed you to be how you are. What formed you? And then what do you release from that? And what grows from all the digested experience? You have experience now and an awareness. So you can lay new foundation for cultivating wisdom through just making your mistakes wise, knowing what's a worthy investment based off of what's reciprocal with your natural energy. Alright, so with this moon, the moon will be sextiling Saturn here. I'm going to look at Saturn to activate these areas. Then eventually Saturn, or the moon, will hit that opening transformative quincunx to Saturn. It's going to activate purity of your spirit through processing or expressing all aspects of what has cultivated you in life. Now you can express it more authentically because of what Venus has been going through in Leo. So maybe some clarity is coming here in this nebulous spiritual wound that you carry in life. It's like some kind of feeling which comes alive in relation to fraternal authority or the structure of society or a family wound. And then as the moon carries on, it's just a representation of cycles to come. It's not the whole story. The moon is it's like Mercury in a way. It brings, the moon is the link between Mercury and Uranus. It's a connection to an outer knowing which hasn't come to pass yet. So this is where inclinations come up for you. You find or create the opportunity for that dynamic in life. can look at Mars in the south node, Moon in the north node. Authentic expression of your passion through a more balanced awareness of yourself in relation to others and old past dynamics and echoes of trauma response, which you're not responsible for. You're just helping to process out in others and in situations, and you come to a point where you're like, well, is this even me at this point? And having the understanding and the urgency to act upon what that is, you're building into that. And it's a spiritual impetus. This is part of that emphasis with the Saturn down here in the opening part of Pisces. Healing yourself in real time through relating more authentically. You see that sextile with Venus here on the shadow path to Mars. So finding the strength in yourself in relation, knowing where you've come from and that you have potential to keep growing. You don't stand still unless you're bending to something. But even that is just a process. So this kind of energy could be very short bursting for you, or it's more intrinsic to your emotions and it will take more moon cycles for it to dissolve and become more realized. That's the best or a way that you can express these kind of things. So becoming aware of the tension and release and where you can release it for an optimal expression, a more balanced expression of life, can be transformed, healing your spirit, bringing you more online with reality. Knowing that you've got this power with perception here. Coming to terms with what you got, where you've been, what you can do with it. Bringing that into relationship with the self and reality, essentially. All right, yeah, I think that's about it. It's pretty cool. I like the chart.